Good afternoon to you, grade 12s, and welcome to this lesson on the 24th of July 2020. My name is Itumeleng Mohanwe, and this lesson will be focusing on language structures on conventions, comprehension, basically stuff from paper one. But I think the main focus is just to get like a rounded up understanding of what you know, what you can do, how questions are asked, etc. But I think also most importantly, the engagement with the questions. I think that's what we love. That's what we love. That's what we'd love to see. Okay, let's go. Right. Okay, so on the contents page, this lesson will focus on comprehension, the answering of questions, inferring meaning, as well as drawing conclusions, because that's very, very important, and on critical language awareness, okay? And then expressing of opinion, or of an opinion, vocabulary development, synonyms, sentence structure, irony, punctuation, concord, diction, tone, visual literacy, and like analyzing advertisements and cartoons, etc. Right? And then I think just in terms of caps, what is it that we're doing? We're doing reading and viewing, yes, of course. So the viewing of information, the reading of those punctuations, comprehensions, and then the language structures and conventions. This lesson will be split into two. It might be split into two, I think, also time permitting. It will depend. I don't want to rush this lesson too much for you guys, because I think the importance with the lesson or of the lesson lies in the understanding. I think the more you understand and the more you grasp, the better. Okay, lovely. Let's go. So like I said, this is the layout for today. We'll do the comprehension, cartoon analysis, and then we'll do another cartoon analysis, and then we'll do an advertisement analysis. Okay, let's go and read the cartoon. The comprehension. There you go. Just to give some credit, this source is adapted from the Mail and Guardian. On the 15th of June 2017, and yeah, it's text worksheet for FET. It's worksheet 11 from English at Once. Also, just to give some credit there, very, very lovely friends of mine there. Fire and Floods: The New Normal by Sipho Kings. The mother of all storms, the worst drought in a century, more intense fires than living in any memory. Than in any living memory. Sorry about that. The hottest years on record. This is the new normal. South Africa's climate is changing, and with that comes extreme weather. Events such as crippling storms and droughts, which used to happen once a century, will happen every decade or more frequently. We know this. There are plans to tackle this, but these are not being implemented, and the cost of cleaning up is climbing. In Cape Town, the worst storm in 2 decades saw 8-meter waves thundering into the coastline. In Knysna, that storm drove fires which spread for 100 kilometers and destroyed 600 homes. 7 people died. Initial estimates by disaster management officials are that the overall damage will amount to more than 4 billion rand. The principal plan for dealing with the future in which this happens more often is the National Adaptation Strategy. The draft, released last year, predicted the calamities that unfolded across the coastal Cape regions this month. Communities may experience increased exposure to raging fires, exacerbated by changes in climatic conditions like extended dry, hot spells, and fanned by strong, unseasonal winds. And communities located in a different province may experience extensive floods caused by excessive downpours, sea level rise, aging stormwater infrastructure, and inadequate designs to deal with the rate of urban growth and development in recent years. Knysna's incident commander, Richard Geldenhuys, told the media this week the scale and intensity of the fire, mixed with the drought and intense weather conditions, made it impossible to deal with. 1,000 firefighters were drafted in from the rest of the country to help. Once a narrative of the future of 2030 and 2050, the increase in extreme events is a reality that countries are having to deal with now. The reason for this requires no debate. Human emissions of greenhouse gases from cars to smokestacks are warming the planet. The concentration of the most plentiful of these gases, carbon dioxide, is at a higher level than at any time in human history. People and nature have adapted to climate change in the past, but as the National Adaptation Strategy states, the unprecedented pace of current changes makes doing this harder. Cognizant of this, South Africa joined nearly 200 other countries in signing the Paris Agreement in 2015 to lower greenhouse gas emissions. But even if all emissions stopped now, the gases already in the atmosphere will continue to warm the world for the coming century. Therefore, South Africa has to plan for the worst and hope for the best. Either way, the roughly predictable 18-year weather cycle of droughts and floods are coming to an end. The extremes of the cycle has led to damage. According to the latest summary, the government sent to the United Nations Climate Agency, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, damaging events cost 200 billion rand a year throughout the Naughties. But in the 7 years since, the figure has jumped to 6 billion rand a year. Record hot years in 2014, 2015, and 2016 have exacerbated South Africa's three main natural disasters: drought, flood, and veld fires. That has meant more than 3 years of constantly dealing with disaster declarations and crisis response throughout the country. Although temperatures cannot be controlled, the ability of society and the economy to handle the related disasters, known as resilience, can be strengthened. Hence, the adaptation strategy. Its targets are enshrined in the 2014 to 2019 medium-term strategic framework. This requires the government to do things such as sustaining ecosystems so they can act as a buffer when disaster strikes, such as wetlands, with catch and slow down flash floods so the water does not wash away homes, and ensuring there's disaster response system in place. There's a notice here, some deliberate errors have been inserted in paragraph 11, or rather to paragraph 11, and this picture was taken by Dion Roth from Gallo, this picture right here. Okay. Some work on this is being done, but it's not enough. Adapting to climate change is something that the country's 226 local municipalities, 19 government departments, and parastatals must focus on and work together on. Many aren't. As an official in the Cooperative Governance Department said, our climate crisis is here, but at best, the different departments have an office that they dedicate to the problem, because they have to. Each department entity has to create a climate change plan, and most have, but that's as far as they get. The National Development Plan, which should be pulling these plans together to do things such as bolster resilience to storms and droughts, is not being implemented. Mines continue to get permission to dig up wetlands, and cities allow shopping centers to be built on endangered grasslands. Climate change, an issue that should be at the heart of planning, is left on the periphery, treated as luxury. The result will be death and destruction. Wow. Okay, let's go. Look at those questions. Identify, refer to paragraph 1. And it says, identify the sentences, which sentences are incomplete and explain why they are incomplete. Identify which sentences are incomplete and why they're incomplete. Okay, I'm going to leave this part here. I would suggest that you take a screenshot or a picture. Can you see which sentences are incomplete? All of these sentences here. All of these sentences here, paragraph 1. Let's see what our memo says. The first 4 sentences are incomplete as they have no verbs. They are only phrases. Right, okay. Can you see the language logic there, the linguistic logic there? They have no verbs and they are only phrases. Yes, that is true. Okay, so there are no verbs in those sentences. They've got only. Okay. Identify which sentences are incomplete and explain why they're incomplete. There are no verbs. Lovely, there are no verbs. Okay. Number 2, or rather B, discuss the effect of using incomplete sentences in this context. Discuss the effect. It's a very popular question when dealing with punctuation. We will always ask you to discuss the effect of something. Discuss the effect of the pun in line, whatever. Discuss the effect of the lack of punctuation. And it also comes in a lot in, you know, when you are tested in English literature. Very, very interesting. Okay, right. What is the effect of incomplete sentences? Remember that the succession of incomplete sentences, right? So that means that incomplete sentences that follow on one another, right? That succession has a listing effect and it creates an urgency in building up to the final sentence, which is complete. Which is which one? This is the new normal. Okay, this is the new normal, right? Okay, so if you see there, if you see there, can you see there? Lovely. Yep. There you go. So the succession of incomplete sentences has a listing effect, and this creates an urgency in building up to the final sentence, which is complete. Yes, it creates that urgency. Okay, so when we ask about an effect, guys, we're asking, or we always ask, what is the bigger impact, given that? Okay, lovely. Then coming back here, C, what is the meaning of the expression the new normal? What is the meaning of the expression the new normal? What is the meaning of that expression? Let's go. A previously non-typical situation has now become standard, and usual. I'm sure you guys have heard right now during this pandemic, they said that wearing a mask is the new normal. Social distancing is the new normal. Okay, because remember, we are brought up with certain norms and standards. When growing up and living in specific situations, but we don't get used to things very quickly. I mean, it was a normal thing to happen in a lot of Asian countries. I know, particularly China had that. I think South Korea as well. People just walk around, with face masks. But there you go. I mean, it's the new norm. But also, I think it was because of the pollution in Southeast Asia that may have been the reason. But now, it's because of the coronavirus that we're faced with. Okay. And then let's go. Number 2, discuss the impact of beginning paragraph 5 with the conjunction and, right? Remember in primary school, you guys were told, yeah, no, you can't start a sentence with the with a conjunction and all of that, right? And that's because teachers were teaching you what we call safe writing. So because as we speak, we always like starting with but and because, and while that that was good then, a lot of, or many authors use conjunctions at the start of sentences. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. I think it only depends on the effect that you would like to achieve, or the impact that you would like to achieve. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. With starting a sentence with a conjunction. Now that you're in grade 12, if you didn't know that, yeah, that's the truth. Okay, let's see what the answer is. What is the answer? Let's go. This creates emphasis. Lovely. What does it create? It creates emphasis. Can you see that? It creates what? It creates emphasis, right? And it helps to attach significance to what follows. It helps to attach significance to what follows. Okay, which is and. Look, that is the impact. So the impact is emphasis, yes, because you'll say and this and that. I'm a public speaking coach and teacher, and I always tell my learners that there's so many things like staccato effect and effects to grasp audience by doing certain things. Among those things could be repetition, so you'd be like, and we told you this, and we told you that, and this is what happens. Okay, that's good. Again, it is an empathetic way of making an additional point. Okay, it's an empathetic way of making an additional point. You see this conjunction here, guys, very powerful. Okay, it's what we call a coordinating conjunction. Lovely. Okay, it's what we call a coordinating conjunction, but we'll talk more about coordinating conjunctions perhaps closer to exams. Okay. Refer to paragraph 8. Let's go to paragraph 8. It says, explain the function of the colon and the dashes in paragraph 8. Lovely. Look at colon and dashes. Number B says, discuss the irony in this paragraph. Ooh, okay. So you see, so now we want you to remember it's reading and viewing. So we want to see your reading skills, how your reading skills are applied in this, and how your viewing skills are applied in this, and how you're able to appreciate the way the person who wrote this article wrote it in that particular way. All right, okay. Let's see. Let us see. Paragraph 8. Sorry about that. I'm sharing the wrong screen. Sorry about that. There you go. Let's go paragraph 8. It says, once a narrative of the future of 2030 and 2050, the increase in extreme events is a reality that countries have to deal with now. The reason for this requires no debate. Human emissions of greenhouse gases from cars to smokestacks are, are warming the planet. The concentration of the most plentiful of those gases, carbon dioxide, is at a higher level than at any time in human history. What were the questions again? The questions were very simple. Explain the functions. Explain the functions of the colon and the dashes in paragraph 8 and discuss the irony in this paragraph. Okay, so I've highlighted that right there. I've highlighted that right there. But also what's important is the discussion of the irony in this paragraph. I did irony with the grade 11s this morning. It was quite an interesting lesson, but we'll deal more with things like irony in the later lessons, particularly towards exams. Okay. Look at those questions again. Look at those questions again. Okay. Okay. The colon introduces an explanation of what precedes it. The dashes separate additional information from the main clause. It is ironic, and B, it is ironic that something that was thought would occur in many years to come, or in years to come like 2030 or 2050, is now a reality of the present. The opposite of what was expected has happened. Let's see. There you go. Can you see that? So the colon introduces an explanation of what precedes it. Remember, to precede is to come before. And remember, the use of the colon is very interesting because it sometimes gives lists, but I think, as an advanced writer, you know very well that it gives reason. So sometimes instead of using the cause or instead of using the reason is, just simply putting a colon that advances your writing. I think it also creates a particular mood in terms of how your writing can be elevated. And then the dashes, remember, separate additional information from the main clause. Remember, also the dashes are used as parentheses, okay, parentheses. Sometimes for the purposes of non-defining clauses. Remember, yes, they do add separate additional information, but which doesn't necessarily hold a definitive aspect or a definitive level. And it would sometimes mean that that information in particular is important, but it's non-definitive. Okay, that's why we call it a non-definitive clause. I think I did clauses with grade 10s yesterday when when we were talking about something similar to this. Okay. All right. And then discuss the irony in this paragraph. Discuss the irony in this paragraph. Also very interesting. The irony in this paragraph is that it is ironic that something that was thought to occur in many years to come, right? Something that was thought to occur in many years to come, or in years like 2030 or 2050, is now a reality of the present. The opposite of what was expected has happened. The opposite of what was expected has happened. Okay, remember, that is literally the definition of an ironic statement. It's usually the opposite of an intention. It's never to hurt, okay, and it's never to mock anyone, okay, because many students always make the mistake of thinking that sarcasm is irony or the other way around, and it's never the case. You need to be very, very clear when making that distinction. Okay, it's the opposite of something, the opposite of what you intend will happen, or the opposite of what we know will, sometimes happens. Okay, let's go here. Provide synonyms for cognizant, okay, in paragraph 10, and exacerbated in paragraph 12. Okay, synonyms for cognizant and exacerbated. What is to exacerbate? You know, I coach debaters, and they always love talking about, yeah, well, I mean, the harms are exacerbated on your side, yeah, and yeah, and on our side they're mitigated. And some people look at them like, oh, okay, but what are you saying and what do you mean? Okay, so what is the meaning of the word cognizant, and what is the meaning of the word exacerbated? Okay, so you need to provide synonyms for that. Remember, a synonym, and that's the reason I wrote it in bold here. Synonym is a word, the S in synonym stands for same or similar. Okay, synonyms, they are the same. So provide a word that would mean the same as cognizant in paragraph 10, and a word that would mean the same as exacerbated in paragraph. Did you get anything? Let's see. Did you guys get anything? Mm-hmm. When you're cognizant of something, it means that you are aware of that thing, right? So you are in the know about it. You are very much aware. You are perhaps conscientized. Remember, cognizant, cognitive. Okay, can you see that? Cognitive, cognition, metacognition. Yeah, all of that. Can you see the word? The word cog is a root word to for meaning the brain, or the understanding or the use of something that is within the scope of your mind. Okay, when you are cognizant of something, your cognitive measure. When they say do a brainstorm of something, another word for brainstorm is what? Is metacog. Can you hear that? Lovely. Okay, exacerbated. Okay, when something has exacerbated or has been exacerbated, yes, it has worsened or it has aggravated. Lovely. Okay, so there you go. There you have it. And then let's go to the next question. The next question reads, okay, refer to paragraph 11. Okay, let's go. Paragraph 11, paragraph 11, paragraph 11, paragraph 11, paragraph 11. Paragraph 11 states, therefore, South Africa has to plan for the worst and hope for the best. Either way, the roughly predictable 18-year weather cycle of droughts and floods are coming to an end. The extremes of that cycle has led to damage. According to the latest summary the government sent to the United Nations Climate Agency, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, damaging events cost 2 billion rand a year throughout the Naughties. But in the 7 years since, that figure has jumped to 6 billion rand a year. Interesting. And I told you, I warned you here, I said some deliberate errors have been inserted in paragraph 11. Let's go. Okay. Yep. So what is the question? The question reads, identify the two. So you know, remember the word the is very definite. So identify the two areas of concord or concord areas in this paragraph, right? B, explain the meaning of naughties, right? Look at that naughties. Okay, so yeah, identify, so correct the two areas of concord in this paragraph. What are they, right? Identify those two areas of concord and correct them. Okay, remember areas of concord, the minute the word concord comes to your mind, I want you to think, oh, concord means verbs, means actions, okay? I mean, it doesn't really mean that, but there needs to be a subject-verb agreement. But you need to read something very closely. Remember the rules surrounding, how many verbs or how many, what kind of verb, does a plural situation take, etc. So you need to ask yourself all of that. Yes, two people is or two people are, Okay, so let's see what the answer is. Okay, let's go to the passage itself. In fact, let's go to the passage itself and see. Sorry about that. Let's go to the passage itself. So the passage reads, there you go, right? Where is the era of concord? I want you to ask yourself here, look at this here. The extremes of that cycle has led to damage. I think let's start here. Either way, the roughly predictable 18-year weather cycle. Where is the subject in the sentence? The subject in the sentence is what? Is this right here? Can you see? Weather cycle of droughts. We call this a noun phrase. Can you see? Because, so we call this a noun phrase because the noun is, there's so many words that tell you what the noun is. So if you say, for example, the girl with the green hair, that's a noun phrase as well on its own. So that entire thing, okay? So the weather cycle of droughts and floods. Look at that there. I'll highlight it, okay? A lot of the time, many people make the mistake of thinking that, oh, so I'm seeing droughts here, I'm seeing floods here. But that is not the question, and that is not the situation. Weather cycle is what we're talking about here. So you can say the girl of two houses, or the girl with 3 cars, or the child with 10 bags. You see, what are we talking about? The focus here is on this noun right here, the weather cycle. Even though it's an 18-year weather cycle here, the roughly predictable the roughly predictable, this is what we call what? An adjectival phrase. Can you see? It's an adjective. Why? Because this phrase here that comes before weather cycle does what? Interesting, lovely. It describes the kind of weather cycle we're talking about. Interesting. Hey, yeah, English is so lovely. It makes you want to cry. Okay, but here's where I squirm. This verb here. Can you see? Can you see? Can you see? The issue with that is that if you look at the entire verb there, What's coming? Ask yourself what's coming to an end. And look at the noun. And I want you to remove everything. If you remove this here, all right? So remove that. I want you to remove that. All right? Look at that. Can you see that? Let's start the sentence with the weather cycle are coming to an end. Can you see the sentence won't make sense? Exactly. Okay. Even if you could remain with that there, let's say we bring back this right here, the of droughts and floods, and we return it, and we'll be fine with that. The weather cycle of droughts and floods is coming because the main focus is there. So that's usually the trick with Concord, because they'll put like so many things, that are so unnecessary just to, bring the writing to life. Because I mean, there's like descriptions and like so many things. Okay, and then if you look at the next sentence reads, the extremes of that weather cycle has led to damage. The extremes of that weather cycle has led to damage. What are you talking about? The extremes of that weather cycle has led to damage? Again, look at what are we talking about? Are we talking about the cycle or this weather cycle here? What are we talking about? Are we talking about the extremes? Look at the subject. Lovely. The subject is in the plural. So it's the extremes that, and I'm sorry for taking so long on this question. And I told you that this lesson is going to be split into two, but this is a very important skill that you need to know, because I can't just give you the answer without teaching you how Concord works. Okay. The extremes of that cycle. Can you see? So of that cycle again makes that another noun phrase. Can you see the extremes of that cycle? Yeah, okay, it's fine. The extremes of this pandemic. Yeah. Do what? You can't say it does what. The extremes does. No. The extremes do. Look at this here. Extremes have. You need to correct that there. The extreme, and I think again, where the confusion will lie is right there. Right there. If you look at that, the extremes of that cycle, the extremes, can you see? So if you remove that there, look at that. So what is at play here? What are we talking about? Okay. Lovely. Let's go back. Okay, so I mean, if you want to see the memo, it's fine. You're more than welcome to see the memo. And let's see what it says. So let's see what the memo says, the memorandum. Okay, I hope you guys can see it. Not sure if it's sharing. Okay, so either way, the roughly predictable 18-year, can you see what I was talking about? Where the cycle is. Can you see? Look at that. The extremes, you see, of that cycle have. Can you see? That's what they always use to confuse you guys with. The subjects are underlined to illustrate concord. Whenever the word concord comes, just go, okay, fine. What is the subject? Hey, where is the doer of the verb? Okay, yeah. Or the thing that's, that's in the state of being. Right, okay. Let's get back here. Explain the meaning of naughties. Okay, yeah, what is the meaning of naughties, guys? Yep, course, it refers to a period between 2000 and 2009. Yes, those zeros there. Those there, those are the noughts there. Yes, the noughts, the oh 08, oh 09. That's when, yeah, no, it was like, I think in oh 08 or oh 09, or oh 06. Yeah, that's how people used to speak, right? Yeah, no, I think it was in oh 06. Hey, yeah. I think some of you guys here were born in oh 02, oh 01. That's how people spoke. Okay, or still speak sometimes. Yeah, well. Okay. And then refer to paragraph 13. Paragraph 13. Sorry about that. Paragraph 13. There you go. Although temperatures cannot be controlled, the ability of society and the economy to handle the related disasters, known as resilience, can be strengthened. Hence the adaptation strategy. Its targets are enshrined in the 2014 to 2019 medium-term strategic framework. This requires the government to do things such as sustaining ecosystems so they can act as a buffer when disaster strikes, such as wetlands, which catch and slow down flash floods so the water does not wash away homes, and ensuring this disaster response. Let's go. So paragraph 13, resilience means an ability to recover from or adjust easily to misfortune or change. So when they say you are a resilient person, remember when Umama Winnie Mandela passed away, and at her memorial and at her funeral, people were like, oh my word, she was such a resilient woman. She was such a resilient mother. Okay, that's exactly what they mean. So yes, she's able to recover. She's able to withstand a lot of situations, easily, and she makes it look so effortless. All right. Explain how one can understand this from a context in which the word is used here. Explain how one can understand this from the Remember, guys, a context is a situation. So when they speak about context, they talk about a situation. I teach business studies, and I always tell my learners as well that, guys, you need to understand the context, content context concept. Okay, that sometimes the content that you deliver, can be goods, it can be service, it can be information, needs to appeal to the context that you talk to, or the context that you're talking about, or the context that you're functioning within, or within which you are functioning, for the purposes of correct English, and not putting a preposition at the end of a sentence. Anyway, okay. So explain how one can understand this from the context in which the word is used here. What do we see? What do we see? Let's go. Let's go. Let's see. Okay. There. Although the temperatures cannot be controlled, the ability of society and the economy to handle the related disasters, known as resilience, can be strengthened. Ooh. Can you see the question now? The question says exactly that. How can one understand this from the context in which it is used here? Let's see. In this context, the word is used to refer to the ability of society and the economy to handle disasters. There you go. The ability of society and the economy to handle disasters. Then you can also say that the plan for this is also called the National Adaptation Strategy. Adaptation strategy. Can you see that the answer is so wide? It's so wide. Okay, it's so wide. The idea is thus conveyed of the necessity for being in state of preparedness to cope with the effects of misfortunes brought by changing circumstances and disasters. Okay, let's go. Paragraph 13, still on paragraph 13, sorry about that. And it says here, provide the adjectival form of resilience. Lovely. Remember the adjectival form, adjective? That's what is an adjective? It is a describing word. Okay, so how would you describe somebody who, who has resilience? Yes, the word is resilient. It's resilient. Okay, the word is resilient. Okay, there you have it, resilient. Okay, lastly for today, discuss how the diction reinforces the tone of the paragraph. Quote from the text in your answer. Discuss how, remember, diction is word choice, word preferences, how we use words and how we, make words have certain meanings. Reinforce the tone of the final paragraph. Okay, diction. Let's go. Let's look for the diction here. Let's look for that diction, in the final paragraph. Climate change is an issue that should be at the heart of all planning. Climate change, an issue that should be at the heart of all planning, is left on the periphery, treated as a luxury. The result will be death and destruction. Ooh, very direct, very, very direct. What is the answer? The answer is there, lovely. Emotive expressions such as at the heart of, can you see, which highlights the importance of planning for climate change, and treated as a luxury, which shows the author's concern about the way in which climate change is neglected, as well as death and destruction. These words carry strongly negative connotations. Look at this, death and destruction. Okay, help to convey the writer's tone of warning and concern. Okay. Grade 12s, I hope you guys enjoyed today's lesson. All right. This was part one of this very lesson altogether. Okay. With part two, we shall continue with this, going from text to with the cartoons that I promised. I told you what's this comprehension is going to take long. Okay. We're going to be doing visual literacy, and there's two cartoons that we are going to be analyzing, and we're going to be looking at an advertisement. Okay, lovely. Thank you very much and enjoy yourselves. Goodbye.